Good Monday morning. Welcome back to Kivley Kids Cozy Corner. This is Miss Kivley, and it is episode 28. Oh my goodness. 28A, since it's a Monday, and I do the 28B for my littles and do a picture book. So we are going to get started. Remember I said Mondays and Fridays with our pledge and our motto. We're going to get started with those, and then poof, we're going to see what the rest of chapter 13 was. Remember the Trunchbull was in Miss Honey's class and asking a little boy how to spell what? W-O-T-E. Anyway, let's do pledge. Salute and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And there's our motto. We are students at Peter J. Shields. We believe in kindness. We are responsible. We are persistent. We are respectful. We are bucket fillers. We drop acts of kindness into everything we do. We are Peter J. Shields. I hope you're seeing kindness or being kind out there. It's getting kind of hard for some people. Some of us are in a really hard spot, or losing a little patience. We're a little more frustrated. So a lot of difficult things out there. So try to find the good or try to find the kindness as we go through these difficult times, and hang in there, because we will get through this and we will learn from it and we will grow from it, because every time we have struggles as humans, we always grow. Let's jump into Matilda, shall we? Okay, I'm going to back up and read a little bit of this, because it was right when the Trunchbull was asking Eric to spell the word what. So, and she called him an idiot. She says, spell what, you idiot? Spell the word what? W-O-T, Eric said, answering too quickly. Ooh, there was a nasty silence. I'll give you one more chance, the Trunchbull said, not moving. Oh, yes, I know, Eric said. It's got an H in it. W-H-O-T. It's easy. In two large strides, the Trunchbull was behind Eric's desk, and there she stood, the pillar of doom, towering over the helpless boy. Eric glanced fearfully back over his shoulder at the monster. I was right, wasn't I? He murmured nervously. You were wrong, the Trunchbull barked. In fact, you strike me as the sort of poisonous little pockmark that will always be wrong. You sit wrong, you look wrong, you speak wrong. You are wrong all around. I'll give you one more chance to be right. Spell what? Eric hesitated. Then he said very slowly, it's not W-O-T. It's not W-H-O-T. Ah, I know. It must be W-H-O-T-T. Ooh, standing behind Eric, the Trunchbull reached out and took hold of the boy's two ears. Look at that. So glad there's not a Trunchbull in our lives. Or hope there's not one. Ugh. One in each hand, pinching them between the forefinger and the thumb. Ow, cried Eric. Ow, you're hurting me. Oh, I haven't started yet, the Trunchbull said. And now, taking a firm grip on his two ears, she lifted him bodily out of his seat and held him aloft. Like Rupert before him, Eric squealed the house down. From the back of the classroom, Miss Honey cried out, Miss Trunchbull, don't! Please let him go. His ears might come off. They'll never come off, the Trunchbull shouted back. I have discovered through long experience, Miss Honey, that the ears of small boys are stuck firmly to their heads. Let him go, Miss Trunchbull, please, begged Miss Honey. You can damage him. You really could. You could wrench them right off. Ears never come off, the Trunchbull shouted. They stretch most marvelously, like they're starting to do now. I can assure you they never come off. Eric was squealing louder than ever and pedaling the air with his legs. Matilda had never before seen a boy, or anyone else for that matter, held aloft by his ears alone. Like Miss Honey, she felt sure both ears were going to come off at any moment with all the weight that was on them. The Trunchbull was shouting. The word what is spelled W-H-A-T. Now spell it, you little wart. Ooh, Eric didn't hesitate. He had learned from watching Rupert a few minutes before that the quicker you answer, the quicker you're released. W-H-A-T, he squealed. Spells what? Still holding him by the ears, the Trunchbull lowered him back into his chair behind his desk. Then she marched back to the front of the class, dusting off her hands, one against the other, like someone who had been handling something rather grimy. And that's the way to make them learn, Miss Honey, she said. You take it from me. It's no good just telling them. You've got to hammer it into them. There's nothing like a little twisting and twiddling to encourage them to remember things. It concentrates their minds wonderfully. You could do permanent damage, Miss Trunchbull, Miss Honey cried out. Oh, I have. I'm quite sure I have, the Trunchbull answered, grinning. Eric's ears will have stretched quite considerably in the last couple of minutes. They will be much longer now than they were before. There's nothing wrong with that, Miss Honey. It'll give him an interesting pixie look for the rest of his life. But, Miss Trunchbull, oh, do shut up, Miss Honey. You are as wet as any of them. If you can't cope in here, then you can go find a job in some cotton wool private school for rich brats. When you have been teaching for as long as I have, you'll realize there is no good at all being kind to children. Read Nicholas Nickleby, Miss Honey, by Mr. Dickens. Read about Mr. Wackford Squeers, the admiral headmaster of the Dotheboys Hall. He knew how to handle the little brutes, didn't he? He knew how to use the birch, didn't he? He kept their backsides so warm you could have fried eggs and bacon on 'em. A fine book that was. But I don't suppose this bunch of morons we've got here has ever read it because, well, look at them. They're never going to learn to read anything. I read it, Matilda said quickly. The Trunchbull flicked her head around and looked carefully at the small girl with the dark hair and the deep brown eyes sitting in the second row. What did you say? She asked sharply. I've read it, Miss Trunchbull. Read what? Well, Nicholas Nickleby, Miss Trunchbull. You're lying to me, the Trunchbull shouted, glaring at Matilda. I doubt there's a single child in the entire school who has read that book. And here you are, an unhatched shrimp, sitting in the lowest form there is, trying to tell me a whopping great lie like that? Why do you do it? You must take me for a fool. Do you take me for a fool, child? Well, Matilda said. Then she hesitated. She would have liked to have said, why, yes, I jolly well do, but she knew that would have been a death trap. Well, she said, again still hesitating, but refusing to say no. The Trunchbull sensed that the child was thinking and didn't like it. Stand up when you speak to me, she snapped. What is your name? Matilda stood up and said, my name is Matilda Sorry, let me start over. My name is Matilda Wormwood, Miss Trunchbull. Wormwood, is it? The Trunchbull said. In that case, you must be the daughter of that man who owns Wormwood Motors. He's a crook, the Trunchbull shouted. A week ago, he sold me a second-hand car that he said was almost new. I thought he was a splendid fellow then, but this morning while I was driving that car through the village, the entire engine fell out onto the road. The whole thing was filled with sawdust. That man's a thief and a robber. I'll have his skin for sausages. You don't see if I don't. He's clever at his business, Matilda said. Clever my foot, the Trunchbull shouted. Miss Honey tells me that you are meant to be clever too. Well, madame, I don't like clever people. They are too crooked. You are most certainly crooked. Before I fell out with your father, he told me some very nasty stories about the way you behaved at home. But you better not try anything in this school, young lady. I shall keep a very careful eye on you from now on. Sit down and keep quiet. So I want to remind you, there's still that pitcher of water with the newt. We haven't had that yet. Chapter 14, the first miracle. Oh, Matilda sat down at her desk. The Trunchbull seated herself behind the teacher's table. It was the first time she had sat down during the lesson. Then she reached out a hand and took hold of the water jug. Still holding the jug by the handle, but not lifting it yet, she says, I have never been able to understand why small children are so disgusting. They are the bane of my life. They are like insects. They should be got rid of as early as possible. We get rid of flies with fly spray and hanging up fly paper. And I've often thought of inventing a spray for getting rid of small children. How splendid it would be to walk into the classroom with a gigantic spray gun in my hands and start pumping it all over. Or better still, some huge strips of sticky paper. I would hang them all around the school and you'd get stuck on them and that would be the end of it. Wouldn't that be a great idea, Miss Honey? If it's meant to be a joke, headmistress, I don't think it's a very funny one, Miss Honey said from the back of the class. Nah, you wouldn't, would you, Miss Honey? The Trunchbull said. And it's not meant to be a joke. My idea of a perfect school, Miss Honey, is one that has no children in it at all. One of these days I shall start up a school like that. I think it will be very successful. The woman's mad, Miss Honey was telling herself. She's round the twist. She's the one who ought to be gotten rid of. The Trunchbull now lifted the large blue porcelain water jug and poured some water into her glass, and suddenly, with the water, out came a long, slimy newt. Plop, straight into the glass. The Trunchbull let out a yell and leapt out of her chair as though a firecracker had gone off underneath her. And now the children also saw the long, slimy, yellow-bellied lizard-like creature twisting and turning in the glass, and they squirmed and jumped about it, shouting, "Ooh, what is it? Oh, it's disgusting. It's a snake. It's a baby crocodile. It's an alligator." "Look out, Miss Trunchbull," cried Lavender. "I bet it bites." The Trunchbull, this mighty female giant, stood there in her green breeches, quivering like a blancmange. She was especially furious that someone had succeeded in making her jump and yell like that because she prided herself in her toughness. She stared at the creature twisting and wriggling in the glass. Curiously enough, she had never seen a newt before. Natural history was not a strong point. She hadn't the faintest idea what the thing was. It certainly looked extremely unpleasant. Slowly, she sat down again in her chair. She looked this moment more terrified than ever before. Fires of fury and hatred were smoldering in her small black eyes. "Matilda," she barked, "stand up." "Who, me? What have I done?" "Stand up, you disgusting little cockroach." "But I haven't done anything, Miss Trunchbull. Honestly, I haven't. I've never seen that slimy thing before." "Stand up at once, you filthy little maggot." Reluctantly, Matilda got to her feet. She was in the second row. Lavender was in the row behind her, feeling a bit guilty. She hadn't intended to get her friend in trouble. On the other hand, she was certainly not about to own up to it. "You are a vile, repulsive, repellent, malicious little brute," the Trunchbull was shouting. "You are not fit to be in this school. You ought to be behind bars. That's where you ought to be. I shall have you drummed out of this establishment in utter disgrace. I shall have the perfects chase you down the corridor and out of the front door with hockey sticks. I shall have the staff escort you home under armed guard, and then I shall make absolutely sure you are sent to a reformatory for delinquent girls for a minimum of 40 years. The Trunchbull was in such a rage that her face had taken on a boiled color, and little flecks of froth were gathering at the corners of her mouth. She was not the only one who was losing her cool. Matilda was beginning to see red. She didn't in the least mind being accused of having done something that she had actually done. She could see justice for that. It was, however, a totally new experience for her to have been accused of a crime that she definitely had not committed. She had absolutely nothing to do with the beastly creature in the glass. By golly, she thought, "That rotten Trunchbull isn't going to pin this one on me." "I didn't do it," she screamed. "Oh, yes, you did," the Trunchbull roared back. "Nobody else could thought of a trick like that, except you. Your father was right to warn me about you." The woman seemed to have lost control of herself, ranting like a maniac. "You are finished in this school, young lady," she shouted. "You are finished everywhere. I shall personally see to it that you are put away in a place where not even the crows can land their droppings on you. You will probably never see the light of day again." "I'm telling you, I didn't do it," Matilda screamed. "I've never seen a creature like that in my life." And that's where we're going to end today, because this next part is going to get really good. Hope you guys are having a great day. And again, happy Monday to you guys. We love you and care about you and can't wait to see you again. And for today, that will be it. And tomorrow, we'll hit back up with Matilda again. Love you guys. Take care, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.